stop following your dreams. I mean, it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter how hard or how difficult or far away to reach those dreams looks like. Don't stop following them, because that's what's gonna make you happy.
Welcome to the first edition of the Interview Podcast, brought to you by Young Spiritual and Professional at God's House Orlando. Today's guest is Jackson Apure. Jackson's a professional portrait session photographer with Disney's Fine Art Photography and Video Group. He started with Walt Disney World 7 years ago as a PhotoPass photographer and is now part of the portraits team and is advancing to the wedding team. Jackson has a fascinating backstory, and he's here to share this experience with us. Welcome, Jackson.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. Jackson, do me a favor and tell the people a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of your background.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you say, my name is Jackson Apure. I was born in Caracas, the capital city of Venezuela. I have a degree in animal science, made, of course, back in my country. Then I have an animal science equivalence here in the United States. Plus, I have 2 years from a big tech degree. Didn't have the chance to finish that program. Also have veterinary assistant certification. Plus certification in professional photography from the New York Institute of Photography.
So, Jackson, as a photographer for Disney Fine Art Photography, you're doing mostly family portraiture, working on some of the wedding portfolios, building some of the bridal portraits. And that's mainly what you're working on right now, yes?
Yes, Matt, that's correct. I've been focusing mostly on family portraits, working with light, trying to define a style in order to fit into the weddings theme in Disney Fine Art Photography. Yes.
Terrific. Now, do you have your own photography business as well?
Yeah, I do. Company. The name is Ja Photo and Video. It's mostly focusing on portraiture as well, but we are open to do any kind of photography event, and we're starting to open our business also into the videography.
Terrific,
field.
doing video as well.
Yes.
So, Jackson, Young Spiritual and Professional is really geared toward the 18 to 25-year-old just finishing up high school, in those college years, just beginning their professional journey. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, what your life was like at that point. When you were in your early 20s, what was your professional goals? Where were you at that time?
I got my degree in animal science at the age of 19. When I was 20 years old, I was already working in the field. I was by the shores of the Orinoco River back in Venezuela, managing a cattle farm with about 600 animals. They're all focusing on dairy milk production and cheese making. Also, I did some small work in parallel with the cattle ranch where I was working with bees, a bee farm, mostly producing honey, but also they have a side business doing candles with the wax the bees produce. So that was a very interesting part of my life, definitely, back in that time.
Wow. Yeah. So you were a professional farmer.
Yes, you can say that. Definitely, still a long road ahead, but yep, I was definitely in that field.
Very good. How do you how do you come from being a professional farmer to being a photographer with Walt Disney World?
12 years ago, we made the decision to come to the United States, mostly because the political situation back in Venezuela. It was me and my wife just decided to come here. She has family here, so we were thinking things were going to be a little bit more easy for us. But while being here, I decided to do an equivalence with my academic background, which I did, and I got an animal science equivalence here. So I decided to take or to continue my academic preparation in the field, but here in the United States. So I decided to start doing or taking classes for a veterinary technician degree. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it because here in Orlando, specifically the city where we live, the animal field is mostly focused on small animals, pets, dog, cats.
Not a lot of farms here in Orlando.
Exactly. So my specialty is mostly animal husbandry for production, for food production mostly. Mm-hmm. It was going to require for us to move to the countryside of the state. So thinking not only on me, also thinking on my wife, she is into the dentist field.
Right.
We decided just to stay here in the city itself. I applied for Disney for an animal
programs?
Animal program, yes, exactly. Thank you. Well, after they were checking my background and doing, some review on my portfolio, I had a small time years ago doing managing a photographic business back in Venezuela. They just offered me the opportunity to be into the PhotoPass team.
To work part of that team.
Yeah, which that's the way everything started for me.
The Interview Podcast is brought to you by Young Spiritual and Professional at God's House Orlando. YSP is a social media platform serving young adults across the Central Florida community by providing opportunities for personal, spiritual, and professional development. Follow our events calendar at YSPGHO on Facebook and subscribe to the Interview Podcast on iTunes and on YouTube. Now back to the interview. Jackson, if you could, as you look back on that time now and you think about, all of the changes, the compromises that you had to make, not only for yourself, your family, taking into account, where you were living and, what your family situation was going to be. If you could go back to that time, do you have any advice that you would have given to yourself?
I think the most valuable advice that I can give right now, I'm 47 years old, so 27 years ago, I think the most important thing you must have is dreams. We never stop dreaming. We are all made of dreams. So don't stop following your dreams. I mean, it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter how hard or how difficult or far away to reach those dreams looks like. Don't stop following them, because that's what's gonna make you happy and realize in your life, So sometimes it's not about having the best thing or having physical things.
Famous,
yes, right. Exactly. It's most about enjoying what you're doing. So for me, working with animals, being outdoors, it was the most important thing. I was raised going every vacation in my life when I was a little kid, going to family ranch in the plains in my country. So I grew up in between cows and helping on the milking, helping on the cheese process, or horse riding, horseback riding.
Yes.
Moving the cattle from one place to other. So I grew up in that environment. So that definitely made me to develop a profound love for outdoors, animals, and all the benefits you can take from that. But also photography was something fun that I always did since
Right.
I was a kid. Having the chance to be in front of those beautiful landscapes, those beautiful places all over my country, helping my family with the ranches, and then traveling on my own, and then working after getting my academic degree. I had the chance to carry my camera with me all the time and being very familiar with, the process and all the stuff. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, spent about 2 years of my life managing a photography business. Nice Photo Store was the name of that business in the capital city.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very busy commercial area in the city, and that made me learn other aspects of photography. Then when suddenly I came here to the United States and having the opportunity to join the PhotoPass team first for Disney, and having also the opportunity to get an educational reimbursement from the mouse,
Right.
I saw the opportunity to grow into the photography field, getting professional certification on photography from the New York Institute of Photography.
Awesome.
So, I must say, thank you, Mickey Mouse, for pushing me on that way. And here I am. I'm just part of Disney Fine Art Photography with Disney Event Group, but I have had the chance to second shoot weddings with.
The Interview Podcast, brought to you by Young Spiritual and Professional, is presented by God's House Orlando. GHO is aiming to be the most loving church in Orlando. Pastors Sammy and Shannon Pavlak invite you to join us every Sunday at 10 a.m. at God's House, located on 9501 Satellite Boulevard in Orlando, or you can follow along online at godshouseorlando.com. Jackson, tell me a little bit. Is there any one particular moment, as you look back into your history, that really changed your way of thinking, the way you looked around, the way you felt about yourself, the way you felt about the world? We call that an aha moment, where you go, oh, everything is, maybe not going the way that I thought it was going to go, but then all of a sudden an opportunity opens up that you wouldn't have had you not followed the path that you were on.
Yes. That age range that you're talking about, that you're focusing your effort right now, is sometimes a very complicated age.
Sure.
Okay, for each of us. For me, I got a degree at a very young age,
sure.
And I started being an independent person at a very, very early stage of my age.
Mm-hmm.
I fall in love. With a lady that was the love of my life in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we had kids.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 kids. I love my kids. That was something that changed my life completely. I wasn't ready for an early marriage in my life. Unfortunately, it didn't went well. We decided just to split ways, But I think something that is important to think about it. I mean, before doing that grand step, that big step on your life, think about it, know each other's better, spend time together. I know everybody says life is short, but it's not that short, so you can spend time knowing the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. So I think that's something that changed my life forever. I'm divorced. I'm happily married right now with a beautiful woman. I think that experience of being coming from a first marriage was a very helpful way to have a successful marriage right now during my second attempt. I think it's important thinking very well before doing those big steps, and listening others, listening to people that have the experience is something that definitely is going to help you to achieve moments on your life that you're going to share forever.
Jackson, tell me a little bit about what are your future plans? You've obviously you've taken every opportunity that you could to educate yourself and to continue to educate yourself. What do you see on the horizon for you? What excites you? What are you?
As an immigrant coming here to the United States, the first thing was focusing on learning a new language. Mm-hmm. So that's probably another advice that I can give to any person that is listening. Sure. Your podcast, learn a second language is something that you must do. Okay, not only thinking that you're gonna probably leave the country and live somewhere else. It's just because it's important for business purposes and for self-development and knowing different cultures. It's very helpful. Even just traveling for fun, having the ability to talk in a second language is gonna definitely open the door for you wherever you go.
Excellent.
One of the goals I have right now is keep improving my English level to a point that I'm gonna be much more able to communicate myself in a more effective way, for sure. Also, I have, yes, definitely in mind retaking that animal field, that farming activities.
Yeah.
Is something that we're going to do probably by our retirement age. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it's something that we definitely would like to do and would like to keep in mind. So far, working on the photography field is something that is keeping me busy. So we have also proving my skills in photography and learning new techniques and even trying to develop new techniques on my own that's going to work just for me and trying to do something different into the field. It's a very competitive field. So yeah, if we're talking about priorities, I'll say improving my English level, then keep working on the photography field to make it every day better and better and better for my subjects. And that's going to give me the money to follow my dreams in the animal field in the future, in my retirement age. It's far away from that, but thinking in the future is sometimes good.
Absolutely. It's always good to have plans.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you coming on and joining us with the initial interview podcast from Young Spiritual and Professional. And Jackson, if anybody wants to reach out to you and contact you, maybe talk to you one-on-one, is there a better way? Is there a better method to get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always reach me through my personal email address is japure.01@gmail.com. It sounds like jpure.01@gmail.com. Also, you guys can follow my work on Instagram on my company account, which is at @JavPhotoVideo.
And also, if you want to, you can also follow us at YSPGHO on Facebook, and there's a link there where you can just message me, and I'll make sure that Jackson gets your information, and we'll be talking to you again. Thank you very much, Jackson. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Again, I want to thank our guest Jackson Apure, and I want to thank you, our listener, for joining us on the Interview Podcast. Please take a moment and rate our podcast on iTunes, and if you're not following along yet, please follow us at YSPGHO on Facebook and Instagram for upcoming content. And now, Hannah Pavlak to close us out.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. For you are blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed when you come and when you go. And if the Lord is on your side, who shall we fear? For who is like the Lord? Nobody.